It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, Alex here. Welcome to episode 50 of the Trademate Sports Betting Podcast. We've made it to the half century, and what a way to celebrate. I am joined, actually I'll put this on view so we can see everyone in this. Yep, we can see everyone now. As you can see, I'm joined by two gentlemen. You'll be familiar with one of them, Harout Massoyan, pro sports bettor, but we're joined by his main man, his numero uno. Mate, what do I call it? Do I call you Drew or do I call you Armenian?
Drew, man, Drew, that's good enough for me. That's what everyone calls me, so that's good.
Harout always mentions your name, but he never says Drew. He always just calls you Armenian bettor.
That's good. He's marketing for me.
But no, fellas, it should be lots of fun today. I mean, obviously we've never had people on, like, two pro sports bettors on at the same time, let alone two people that are working together day in, day out as professional sports bettors. So I'm bloody excited about this. Why don't we just kick it off, and you guys, one of you, I don't know how this will work, but one at a time, maybe explain how you guys got together and I guess getting to know each other, I guess, to start off with, and then moving into betting together.
Sure. Yeah. How do you want to jump right into that, or?
Well, I've been on the podcast many times, so you can go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers, and then we'll talk about the partnership a bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. I know Harout's come on, done the EPL previews with you guys many times, and I love them. I think it's a great hit. I think a lot of people love it. I think there was one guy that was like really bummed out that there was no EPL preview today. So sorry to that guy.
Yeah, sorry. We should get his name. I think his name's like Prabav or something. Oh, sorry, mate. Anyway, because at least we've ruined one person's day by doing this.
Well, maybe we'll make some other people's days better, so it'll be worth it.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
Well, me and Harout, actually, we've known each other for quite a while. I've known Harout, what's it been, like 10 years now, Harout? We started out playing basketball together. I was like 19, 20 years old. Harout was younger than that. Just been friends, mainly through like playing basketball and stuff. I've done a lot of different things. I've been in day trading. I've been in sales. I moved to Florida a while back because Vegas has been home for me, and I know Vegas has been home for Harout. But I moved to Florida a while back to go be in sales, and then the way me and Harout started working together, I'm just gonna fast forward to it. I was deciding to move back from Florida back home to Vegas, and it was just during a time where Harout was getting more interested in sports, and I already had an account here actually in Vegas. I had a William Hill that I had just left when I moved to Florida, and I had left a little bit of money in there. And when I remember when I was deciding to come back to Vegas, I had called Harout. I was like, hey, I'm gonna move back. I still got a William Hill. Maybe we could start like betting, doing some stuff. And, when I moved back, he was one of my roommates when I moved back to Vegas and we got a place. And that's kind of how we started. And we just started just every day, just like learning more and more, uncovering different things. And it's crazy. It all just happened really fast. And then now here we are today, just betting full time. That's all we do now.
So like back in the day when you guys were just playing basketball, did you guys ever talk about betting, or like did you ever talk about like the dream, one day like we could do this for a full-time job?
Kind of, yeah. Well, when we first started, like there was actually a time like while we were playing basketball, we set up like an account just to do like the betting thing for fun. Like we would just look at numbers and like see who we'd like, and then just pick a number against the spread. and then we would have like a flat like staking amount, like we would just bet like $55 a game. So when we were maybe, I was like 18 at the time, so I couldn't like legally open an account. So he made an account, and then we just talk about all the plays, and he would just put stuff through the account. But that was just kind of for fun. So when we first started, it was never really like, we never had it in the back of our minds that we were going to do this for a living one day. It kind of got to that point because, you know, we tried out an account, we did it for fun, and then next thing you know, we were looking at how we can do it in a more advanced level, and then we just kind of gradually got to the point of doing it professionally. But it was never one of those things where we just set our minds to it, like, wait, we're going to be pros. It just kind of happened over time.
No, yeah.
I think it's something we you know, a lot of people dream about, but in the back of their minds, they don't actually believe it's truly possible. I think we always knew that it was possible. We just kind of went along. It's just kind of like a weird route you go down until you get to where you're at today. Like we would have never thought we'd be where we are today now. Yeah. But it just kind of happened, you know?
Like, how did you guys learn? Like, did you have someone, like a friend, or did you watch, like, you know, read an article?
Curiosity.
How did you find out that, you know,
a lot of it was just curiosity, man. What we've learned, because I mean, Harout's had a business before we did this. I've been an entrepreneur before this, and you know, we know that, you know, no one's going to drag you to success. No one's going to come and show you exactly how to bet EV or what book is the sharpest. Like, no one's going to come and bring that information directly to your door. You have to seek it out. You have to find it. No one's going to make it like very easy for you. And that's really what we did. Like, we learned some things through just like from other people's mistakes, and then other things we learned the hard way from our own mistakes. You know, there was a time when we first started where we thought that it was funny because we had that one computer, and then we would go up there and we would like look at some games. And then I remember it was like college basketball. We would put our bets in like 5 minutes before the game starts. And then we're like, all right, our bets are in. We go downstairs and sit down and like watch them on TV. Like now we could never do that. We're like, we're stuck in front of the computer screen because there's so much stuff going on. Even after one game has started, there's stuff going on all day long. So it's very cool to look back and see like the evolution of what we were doing and what our thought process was compared to what it was now. Like I was just going through my phone and just looking at like some video that, you know, we would take and stuff like that on, like, for example, like a busy Saturday where it would be like me and Harout trading in the trading room, just like recording, you know, what it's looking like while we're working. Like now we're just so busy immersed into the screen, like you wouldn't even stop to do that. There's no time for that.
And Harout, what's it like? I mean, for both of you, what's it like working full time and doing something that you love with one of your best friends?
I mean, it's kind of cool. I think that the most important takeaway I've had with working with Drew is that, you know, we met each other through like playing basketball, and we weren't like the closest friends at the time. Like we were friends, but I think business brought us together when we first started, you know, working together, and we realized that we had, you know, chemistry in business. It really helped us bring out each other's strengths and work to help each other make this a success. I think that one of the things that helped Drew and I get along really well is that we're both open-minded people, and we like to listen to each other's opinions or point of views, and it helps us build on that every time we have something to share. And I think that it creates a lot of creativity. So I think the partnership is not going to be one of those where it was found on friendship. It was more so that we kind of both had similar interests through basketball and betting, and it kind of made us realize that, hey, we can have a really good working relationship here.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree. He couldn't have said it better. I think a successful partnership really the biggest requirement for a successful partnership is for guys to shed their ego, and just really like you said, have an open mind. And that's really like the type of dynamic that we have. You know, I have my strengths. Harout definitely has his, and we work to those strengths, you know, and it works well for us. So we're very lucky, because not every partnership works that way. You know, guys, I've been in a business relationship where you butt heads with someone that you're working with because you don't get along or whatever it may be. Thankfully, we don't have that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I made it awkward by saying you guys are best friends.
No, I mean we pretty much are at this point.
At this point, yeah.
I think what Harout was trying to explain is like we weren't really like best friends when we were younger. Like we were friends, but we wouldn't hang out all the time simply because of the age. I think I'm like 4 or 5 years older than Harout is. So we didn't really get as close as we are now until after I moved back from Florida, and we actually started like really getting more curious about the betting. That makes sense.
Yeah. So did you guys ever, both of you, like separately bet, or was it just always like?
Yeah,
you know,
we did. In the very beginning, we did. In the very beginning, we were just kind of like, as we were learning things and kind of figuring things out, we were doing things separately. But then, you know, we realized it's so much better and easier and in both of our best interests to combine and join forces. Because, you know, like you're betting into like 40, 50 different outs. I'm going to do the same bets as him, and we're going to be betting into the same outs. It's like, it's better to just be a one unit and just split up and just, hey, I'm going to bet here. And he does the same.
Like, how did you guys agree on a style then? Because I mean, you've got your style. Like, I mean, it's not like the only style that you can have as a pro sports bettor. I mean, there are people out there with models and all sorts of things and ways to beat the market. Like, how did you come to that style? Like, it doesn't, like, to have two minds meeting at the same area. Were you both doing the same thing at different areas?
Yeah, we discovered.
Kind of. Go ahead.
Alex, can you start asking questions geared towards either me or him, because I don't want to talk over the other person. So
yeah, no, it's a good.
Make it more
as a host, I mean, I should be good at that, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
No, you go first, Harout.
All right, can you say the question again, because I forgot it now.
I'll switch over to Drew then. No, I'm joking. No, I was just asking like how you guys met with the approach you have of just looking at numbers and markets and stuff like that, because like, did you both separately do the exact same thing, or did one of you look at models and one of you looked at numbers and stuff like that, and then you just thought, all right, well, numbers is the best way to go, or looking at markets?
Yeah, I think when we first started, we were following a model that was publicly available online, and we were trying to find numbers offered at like our sports books that we had accounts at, and we would try to beat whatever the true winning probability percentages were from that model. So we kind of applied the principles of having an edge and betting plus EV since the start of time. So we kind of both acknowledge the fact that in order to do this profitably, we have to have an edge against the market. So whenever we were betting something, it always revolved around, you know, being plus EV, being ahead of whatever our model that we were following was. So as we transitioned away from that, we kind of noticed that the model we were using didn't really have an edge. We were just on a really good like run with it. So when we transitioned into understanding the market values at Pinnacle or BetCris and understanding where the sharp books were sitting at and what's actually plus EV and what's not, we just, you know, combined our previous knowledge of having an edge and trying to beat the true probabilities and getting good numbers in the market. So our philosophy was kind of developed from the beginning of time when we started doing this professionally in the beginning. And then that just kind of carried on. I guess the style was kind of influenced by some of the stuff we read and watched. I mentioned in one of my earlier videos when, you know, Jonas was kind of explaining how he had some statistics, and he was sharing his screen with all the bets that he had made, and me and Andrew were watching that at the same time. So we kind of, that moment clicked to us, and we were like, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. If he's seen these kinds of results and he's been doing a lot longer than us, then we're definitely on the right path, and we just have to keep moving forward until we reach the success that we want to reach.
Yeah. And for you, Drew?
I think exactly what Harout said is there's some things like certain like models or betting styles that it's a matter of opinion, but then there's other things that are just straight up fact. Like there's core principles to betting profitably that everyone that is a professional, regardless of what style they do, can agree on. The way to make money in this game is by having an edge and doing high volume. So we very early on, we agreed that that's how you beat this game. And from there, we, by both being open-minded, we're just like testing, trying different things. I mean, there were so many different systems and betting strategies that we implemented, modified, wiped out, brought back. Like, it's just a constant evolution,
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, because there's certain sports that Harout originates. There's other sports where we just bet straight into the market. There's other sports where we just straight up arb. We think it's very important to be as versatile as possible. And one of the key contributors to our success is the fact that we're adaptive and we don't just stick to just one sport. We don't only know how to do one thing because we're open to finding out and learning other things and new things. Even now, we're still, keeping our eyes peeled for new types of strategies to implement in new sports to increase our handle. Because at the end of the day, all that matters, do I have an edge? Yes. Okay. Can I put in volume, high volume with that edge? Yes. Okay. Then we got a good strategy. So that's really kind of what we're looking at.
And so can you guys, like, maybe start with you, Drew? Can you go off and just tell me, like, how you guys set things up in terms of, Harout's told us a little bit, or told me at least a little bit about how he sets things up, and basically you guys do half a day each, and how you bet, and like is it one person does certain sports and another person does a certain other type of sport?
Yeah, not so much a certain sport or another sport. We used to both be doing like all day. When we first started and we were still like kind of getting our feet wet learning, we were just both in front of the computer as much as possible, like all day. Especially on Saturdays, we would be both in front of the computer from like 6 a.m. till 8, 9, 10 at night. But now that we've gotten a little more experience and we can kind of handle it, we split our days up. So Harout will work in the mornings, I'll work in the afternoons. Yeah, I mean, we kind of like split our days up that way, so that way we can kind of have a little bit more free time, because we would just be on the computer screen all day, every day. So that's really what we do now. There's a lot more like faster moves in the morning. Harout's probably one of the best traders on the planet, honestly. And he's just crushes it in the morning, and then I just come in the afternoon and just take care of the halftime stuff and and some of the late moves. Make sure everything closes good, and it's a good dynamic.
So would I be saying it right that that Harout comes in the morning and like what looks at the markets and places like a bunch of bets, and then maybe you come in halfway and maybe like start arbing out some positions and stuff like that? Or am I getting that completely wrong?
Yeah, no, you're getting it right, but it's also like when he's working in the mornings, he's putting stuff in for the weekend, he's putting stuff in for days out, and the same thing with me. Like, we're just in front of the computer. If we see an opportunity, doesn't matter when it starts, like we'll bet into it if we feel like there's value. And then we just, monitor the positions we have, trade out of them if we have to, build upon them if we need to, just kind of go from there.
Yeah, when you come in, like when you're trading the morning, it's more of like your positions are fresh because the markets are just coming out, so you're basically putting your first set of bets on a game. And then like in the second half of the day, there's a lot more management involved with those positions. You got to see how the markets are trending, what's going on, is new information coming out on teams, how much money do I have on this side. You got to kind of, it's more risk management towards the second half of the day. Make sure that if a position's not going so well, based on your original bets, you kind of want to get out or reduce your exposure. And then if something keeps trending in your favor, maybe add some more money on it. It's more management involved. So I think that trading in the morning and trading in the afternoon is kind of like two separate skill sets that are necessary. But I think both are equally important. And I think that we've become versatile to handle either the morning or afternoon shift, either of us, so that in case we need to, we can.
That's so interesting. So I guess, I mean, for you, Drew, have you ever logged on at halftime and thought, what the fuck has Harout done this morning?
There's definitely been times where both of us have logged on and looked at our spreadsheet and like, what the fuck was he thinking? I know Harout hit me up one time. He's like, why the fuck did you take the 49ers minus 6.5? I was like, at the time, go look at the timestamp, and he'll go look back at the timestamp on Pinnacle and like, oh, okay, I see why you bet that. I had to take it at the time, but yeah, that happens all the time. But you can't control what happens. You can only play the hands that you're dealt. It's just like poker. You're dealt hands, and then you just got to play them the best way you can. The market gives us opportunities to get in and get out of positions every day. So how we get in and out of them determines how well we do. I mean, one game. I mean, we've had positions on one game. We're betting both sides like 50, 60 times on both sides, and it's like an entire column on our spreadsheet just for one position, but you improve your numbers so much. Like I'm sure you've seen Harout's told you some of the soccer positions we've built.
Yeah, or like the Usman Masvidal.
Oh, they're my
That's
favorites.
probably like
that's
probably like 100 inputs.
Yeah,
all time. That was one of our biggest best.
Yeah,
like that to us, like that's trading. Like that's fun. That's really fun. Building a nice position. Yeah, like you get to a number that was never even offered in the market through injury news or, having a bunch of different outs, and you're able to arb your way to a great number. Like we do that a lot, especially on the smaller markets where different books have a lot of differing opinions. There's more arbitrage opportunities. So you just arb your way to a great number. And then as it gets closer to game time, we keep, we stay on the value side.
Yeah, I was going to say one of my favorite type of notifications that comes up on my phone when it says Harout just sent you a photo. I'm like, oh, here we go. What's he done now? No, it's always fun. But I should probably ask, and I don't even think I've asked you this, Harout, before, is like how much would you say, like percentage-wise, are you betting on the sharps as opposed to the softs? Because, I mean, it must be just about impossible for you guys to be getting the money down on softs nowadays.
Yeah, it's if you don't use like the sharp books, and I'm sure Jonas can tell you this as well. If you're not getting good or putting faith in yourself to be able to read the market and try to get on, the right side before the steam moves or the moves actually happen, then you're just not going to get enough money down on a game. And like if we relied on taking stuff that was just sitting in a soft book, yeah, we might get $300, $500 bet down on a soft line, but it's not going to give us the positions that we want or need to be able to do this lucratively for a living. So I think utilizing sharp books like Pinnacle and BetCris, those are important outs for us because they give us the amount of money that we're looking for on the side.
Yeah, that's what Jonas, speaking to him earlier in the year, he said to me that, if he could use the soft books, he'd be using them every day of the week. But I mean, he said he hasn't been able to bet with them for like 3 or 4 years now. So yeah, so in America, you would say like they're your two main outs then in terms of sharp bookies.
I mean, yeah, there are a variety of different ones. When I classify a book as sharp, I usually notice that those books are moving a lot more faster. They're moving more in line with the market. But I mean, even sharp books, sometimes a number will sit there. You can still snag it up. So I mean, just having outs, any kind of out, whether it's sharp or soft, might give you the number that you need or are looking for. It doesn't necessarily matter if it's like a William Hill or a Bet Chris. Like any book can have any number that you need at any given time. So it's important to have outs just in general. The more you have, the more flexible you are with your betting.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the things I'd love to ask you guys, I mean, it seems like your main sport is basketball, but your whole approach to betting basically has nothing to do with like your opinions on a sport. Mostly, like it's all just to do with markets and stuff like that. Like, how do you two judge that? Because I know myself, I've got this brilliant software in front of me that tells me exactly where to bet, but I love betting rugby, and I always feel like I rate my opinion over anything in the world. So how do you guys how do you work, I guess, basketball in general, Drew? How do you guys work that out?
Was that directed to me or?
Yeah, I did say Drew.
Yeah, okay, my bad, I didn't hear you.
That's all right.
Yeah, a lot of our betting does not involve our own opinion. There are some spots where we're kind of starting to originate, but a lot of our betting style is market driven. So you don't need to have a personal opinion on a game to do that successfully. We've proven that we have a big enough sample size to say that it's not just luck. And across a lot of different sports, basketball is definitely a very fun sport to bet, especially college. But I think Harout will agree. Our favorite sport to bet out of all is definitely going to be soccer. Soccer is just something else, man. Soccer is, for multiple reasons. It's the most fun to bet, and two, which is very important as well, it's probably the most liquid market in the world.
Yeah.
And those two things, I mean, we just really enjoy it. But as far as like how we do it, a lot of it is just looking at the market and getting a read. You can have a software, but the software is only as good as the person that's using it, right? So you want to be able to interpret the information properly, because you could just look. It's easy to just look and say, "Hey, Pinnacle's the sharpest," and that's what a lot of other books do. They'll copy from Pinnacle, but that doesn't always work out for them. I'm sure you've seen that. So a lot of it is just kind of interpreting, because there's a lot of things that go one direction and then come back. There's a lot of things that go and then they just keep going. So being able to read the market and get a good understanding of what's a real move and what's not is where the real skill lies. And that's what, we've been learning over the past, couple of years.
Do you ever have like any funny conversations with friends or family or anything like that where they are like just really curious about what you do? Because especially with your style, like in telling people that, no, I don't bet, I don't bet on MMA, I don't bet on tennis, I don't bet on soccer, just because, I know everything about these teams and these leagues and stuff like that. I absolutely know nothing about, any player within that team, or, you might be betting, like, let's just say one of your lower teams in the EPL, like a West Brom or something. I would assume you've got no idea. You probably couldn't name 5 of their players. Like, do you like sometimes?
I name one.
I wanted to be generous, mate. I didn't want to insult you, but
look, it doesn't mean anything to me. Like, it's not insulting. It's that there's certain things there's certain people who are experienced and skilled in certain areas, and then there's people who are skilled in other areas. And to me, like, we understand the market. Harout is like a lot more into the EPL and like knowing the actual players. And yes, that is definitely very important, and it can only help you. But you don't have to know it to be successful. It's kind of
it's crazy, isn't it?
The conversations that we have. Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can talk about this, Harout. It's just like, it's, for me, I mean, for someone that's only like reasonably new to the whole market, looking at markets and value betting and all this kind of stuff, it is pretty remarkable that you can have literally no, information, like no knowledge of a sport and be incredibly profitable from it.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. Like me and Andrew, obviously we're basketball players. We understand the NBA. We know all the NBA players pretty much on every roster. So when we combine that with our knowledge for betting and understanding numbers and markets and tying that in with how we find our edge in the NBA, it's a lot more easier. And I feel like we're in such a big position of power, because if a certain player is getting ruled out, or there is specific news on them for limited minutes or extended minutes or anything of that nature, it allows us to properly assess how many points that's worth if they're going to be out. Whereas in a sport like the EPL, if there's a player missing for like West Brom or like Leeds United, then we're probably not going to be able to properly assess that. So we got to be more on our toes and make sure that we're paying attention to the market to see how much certain things are worth. So I think that when you put it all together, I think information is really valuable. The more you know, and if you know good betting, you're able to combine the both and really come out as a strong bettor in that specific market. The more you know, obviously, the better you'll do.
So how does your ROI compare then to like basketball, the sport you guys know most about, Drew? Well, how does that compare to any other sport?
Let me take a look from last year.
Here we go. Don't share screen, mate, whatever you do.
I'm not going to share the screen. I'm just curious. Now that you asked, I'm curious. Like volume-wise, last year we've done more college basketball than anything else, but the ROI is low compared to soccer. Like it's still great. We're still in the green, but our just to put it in perspective, our ROI on soccer is twice that of college basksketball.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Considering what you just said, Harout, that's incredibly interesting, because you're able to, you've got so much more knowledge at hand when it comes to basketball.
Yeah, I mean, that's just college basketball. College basketball is like really hard to keep up with. There's so many divisions and teams, and like it's impossible for one person. I mean, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's a lot less likely for one person to be able to memorize all those players and all those divisions and conferences. Whereas something like NBA, I find it very hard to imagine, like if we break it down, that we're probably crushing NBA numbers. You just went over college, but
I just went over college. Actually, NBA is more than soccer and college basketball. NBA is about 4%. Soccer.
With NBA, for us, there's a lot of anticipation involved. We're willing to roll the dice if we feel like we have an advantageous position, or if we feel like something that we're betting is more going to go in our favor more often than not. And I'll give you an example. If we feel like, let's just say Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers it has like a 70 to 80% chance playing, and that's not really fully factored into the line or the side, then we're most likely going to play that side if it's underpriced according to what his probability of playing is. So it's one of those things where we're kind of playing the EV game based on probabilities of playing. So it's basically value betting within value betting. You're basically trying to jump the gun or kind of assess the situation based on stuff that you see on Twitter, maybe some warm-up videos. It's just one of those things where we're able to jump on a position before and not have to rely on the market so much, because we have more knowledge or information in that particular sport. And injuries cause big volatility in the market, so it's really good for us.
Yeah. I want to talk more about your guys' relationship again. And I touched on it before, like Drew logging on at halftime, for example, and thinking, what on earth have you done, Harout? Have you guys had any... I mean, you mentioned at the start, Harout, that you're very open-minded and you work well in a business setting because you can have conversations and critique each other. But surely there's been times where, I mean, there's money on the line here. There's, your own money on the line here. And I assume that you're both, betting each other's money in a way. Like, surely there's been a good argument or good, hard discussion at some point. If you want to start, Drew.
Yeah, I mean, there's been several. I mean, we've both made mistakes where you accidentally bet the wrong side. I mean, we're putting in so much volume, so many bets, doing so fast, like every day. Mistakes get made. Good bets get missed. When that happens, we obviously like have a conversation where you don't get to become like really successful without being very meticulous with your work, right? So we're constantly paying very close attention. What were the biggest moves of the day? Did we capture all of them? Did we get enough money down on them? Constantly like making changes to be faster. I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realize when wanting to get into this is the speed at which you have to do it to be able to get like the best bets of the day. It's very fast. You have to be very, very, very fast. So a lot of our conversations are about speed, getting stuff down quick enough. I mean, a specific conversation, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but we're always talking about volume, how much volume we're putting in, making sure it's up to our standards, you know. If we're working a full shift and, you know, you're doing less than 100,000 in volume, then it's kind of low. So we'll talk about it. But yeah, that's usually what we do.
And you, Harout, how many times have you bent Drew over and given him a smack on the ass, mate?
I mean, plenty, but honestly, like our relation.
Jesus.
I mean, he knows I mean that in a positive way, and I never really get on him in a hard way. It's more positive criticism because I want to bring out the best in him, because I know he really wants it to get to that next level every day, every week. He's always striving to improve, and I really respect that about him as opposed to other people that I've crossed paths with in my life. So I think that one thing that Andrew's really good at is always staying determined and driven. So I feel like it's in my best interest to kind of be honest and open in the partnership, because I feel like giving that positive criticism will help us, one, build trust, and help us get better every time that, something goes wrong. At the end of the day, we have to acknowledge the fact that we're humans. We're going to make errors. We're not going to play positions perfectly. And it's just a matter of doing them better the next time around. So I respect Andrew a lot, and the respect goes both ways, and we just appreciate that about each other.
Oh, feel the love, mate. I think one of the most fascinating parts about this being in a betting partnership is that you're both. You could be best friends, let's just say, and you are very good friends, but you both are going to have, no matter how close you are, you're going to most likely have different risk preferences, different personalities. Like one person is going to, at least one person's going to probably want to bet more or bet less than the other person. How do you guys manage risk? How do you manage risk, essentially, Drew?
Well, luckily for us, our risk preference is pretty much the same because we're not scared of shit. Like, I'm no stranger to taking big bets, and I know how it's the same, so it works out pretty well. Like, we've been very like gradual with how we've done things, and anytime we've taken a big bet, it's always been proportionate to our bankroll, and neither one of us has ever taken a bet where the other person's been like, oh shit, that's too much. Why did you bet so much? Let's bet less. Like,
wow, that's really interesting.
Harout, can you think of a time where I took something where you're like, why'd you bet so much?
No, I mean, we've made accidents where we've like bet maybe something a duplicate amount of times. We forgot to input in the tracker and we were exposed for a little bit too much. But I mean, that like decision making wise, like doing it intentionally or like with purpose, there's never been a time where we've been like, oh, we've overbet or anything.
That must be so unique though, Drew, to never have a situation where either of you has said, oh mate, like that was a bit too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you follow like a lot of like basic bankroll management principles and you understand it, you're never going to have that issue. You're never going to have that problem because we'll never bet more than, at the absolute most, maybe like 5% of bankroll on any one given bet. So it's like,
Yeah,
it doesn't really
not even.
matter. Yeah, that's like the absolute most. So it's like, we never have that problem. We never come across that issue. Whenever people have that argument, if they are in a partnership and one person wants to bet more than that amount, then they obviously don't know what they're doing because that should never even come up.
I think one thing that also, like, while we're building positions, we'll talk about it. Like, obviously, if something major is going on, that means we're probably looking to get as much money as we possibly can. The more critical the information is, obviously, the more comfortable we are going to be placing a big bet. Like, for example, if LeBron James is not playing, and we're trying to build a position because we can get on that information as soon as it hits the market, you're probably going to try to get as much as you can down on that game because 20, 30 minutes later, you're going to be able to bet the other side. So based on our style and our ability to read the market well, those kinds of problems start to disappear. If you're able to get on a good trend, most of the time, any position that you've built is almost always arbable. You can bet the other side and take profits. And I think that's the main reason why we never really argue about having too much on a position or risking too much.
Yeah, our arguments are usually about not having enough on a position. Never about too much.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you guys set up any like parameters or like any like ways to get on the same page when it comes to staking, and also do you have like an odds range where you just like, oh, we don't go past 10 in odds or something like that?
Yeah, I only like to bet underdogs. I don't like to bet favorites. No, I'm kidding. We're on the same page in terms of staking method because the staking method is based on the bankroll. So when you know, okay, this is how much money I have. This is our bankroll management system. So when you have an edge, we use kind of like a hybrid Kelly criterion model. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but basically, long story short, is our staking amount is based proportionately to our edge, and it's been kind of scaled down. So that's kind of how we structured it when we were first building the bankroll. But when you get to the point where you're fully capitalized, it doesn't like we don't even look at, oh, how much am I going to bet on this game? We just try to get as much as we can because it's never enough. So in terms of that, yeah, we got on the same page by agreeing that, okay, this staking method is ideal for sports betting. And then from there, it's just proportionate to how much money you have. It's a math equation. It's not really much to think about. You just plug it in. Oh, what's my edge? Okay, I got a 2% edge. I got a 3% edge. I'm going to bet, this many units.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand. I guess it was more, I wasn't sure if you guys were more so just calculating your edge based on what you're seeing in front of you, or whether you have an actual like number edge every time, like that is calculated by itself.
A lot of the times we eyeball it because you like when you're looking at a lot of odds and lines on the screen, you can calculate it in your head what's a 2% edge. You see a number that's off from the rest of the market, that that's a 2% difference. You could just kind of do it in your head and like, okay, I'm putting this much money down on this game.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
It's just doing it in your head. But before, we had a calculator. But Harout created kind of a hybrid staking method that was kind of like a mix between Kelly criterion and a flat staking method, and that's what we were kind of using in the beginning. And we would go, half unit or quarter unit increments from like 1 unit all the way up to 6 units was like our max bet. And that was back then. I mean, at this point, like I said, we don't even do that because like we're betting the max everywhere. So we see something we like, we're betting the max every time we bet it. So
yeah. And Harout, I mentioned before that you guys are betting with each other's money in a sense. Do you guys, I'm assuming that's what you do, and do you like completely just split profits and all that kind of stuff down the middle?
Yeah, we try to keep whatever, we still try to allow our bankroll to go as much as possible. So we take out as very little as possible. But yeah, we both have equal equity in what we do. So a lot of the things we have is 50-50.
Yeah. And then looking, I mean, we've talked about this already, but looking past your bets and looking at how you guys can improve, is it more than just, I mean, it seems like the common denominator here is that you want to be faster and you want to be able to get more turnover down. Is there anything else you guys are you looking at, Harout?
Yeah, just I've told Andrew my goal, given our current situation where we're at, as scaling is going to get harder. There's only going to be so much we can get down on a certain game at the numbers that we want. So to me, my goal is to try to get information faster, create a platform where we're able to, get news or even utilize models that are, out there that can give us an edge against the market or allow us to play positions a couple seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds before it currently moves on us right now. So we're just trying to do those kinds of things that will give us the source of information faster so we can also move faster.
Are you guys looking into any AI or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, artificial intelligence is the future of a lot of things. So incorporating it in betting would be ideal and help us stay efficient with a lot of what we're doing because it can automate a lot of tasks. There's only so many markets we can manually look at once. So as those kinds of things become more feasible, like artificial intelligence tied to certain models or softwares, those are things that I'm going to be looking to get myself involved with. There are already a few that I'm working with, and I probably will add more as they come along in the future. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. And do you think, Drew, that like there will ever be a time where you guys might not even be not much use, but do you think a lot of your job will be taken up by managing bots and stuff like that?
I think it can, yeah. I think bots, like you said, have to be managed by people because you can have AI, you can have really sophisticated AI, but there's always got to be someone overseeing it. So I think we're always going to be involved in the betting side of it somewhere or another. In terms of what we do, yeah, getting faster and getting more turnover down and getting the information as fast as possible is really like that's all the game is. And then the only other side of the game, which is a little bit more my responsibility, is just finding new places to bet, more places to bet. So I'm always meeting people, talking to new people, putting together partnerships. We got several partners now that we've been working pretty well with so far. Hope to grow that this year. See where else we can get into, what else we can do. Cool.
And your style, guys, I want to talk about this because we actually had Rob Pizzola on the podcast earlier in the week. Who, for those who haven't heard the podcast yet, he's a pro sports bettor. And I kind of, because he's got more of a models-based approach where essentially he could get to a point where during the day he just sits there and he gets an alert on his phone and then he'll go place his bet kind of thing when it moves into his range. So his style is a lot different to yours. I guess it's a lot less. I mean, it might be the same volume because he's probably just putting lots of money down when he gets one. But in terms of the number of bets, I'm assuming it's a lot lower. And I asked him about kind of comparing the two approaches. And I thought is like the approaches of having a model versus, and you guys have had a model in the past, versus strictly, looking for news and information and the way the markets are moving. He said your approach is like, it's very good, but the problem he saw, the thing that like kind of deterred him was the grinding style and grinding for the ROI. I mean, he mentioned he just believed that the ROI that you'd be grinding out doing what you guys are doing is something around 2 to 3%. And it's something he'd rather be putting his money into other areas like the stock market and stuff like that. And he likes having more control, I guess. If you've got a model, you've probably got a bit more control of, what the outputs of that model are. What do you guys kind of make of what he's saying there, and like the grinding kind of style of your approach, Drew?
Well, you have to enjoy the grind in order to do the style that we're doing. We love it. We love being in front of the computer all day long. And ROI is only relevant relative to the turnover that you're doing. I'd rather have 3% of 10 million ROI than 10% of 100,000. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's all relative to the volume that's being done. So I think sports betting offers one of the greatest returns out of anything that there is out there. Because you make 3%, but you're making 3% on the turnover, not on the actual money that you have. Your ROI on the money you have is like upwards of 30% a month. There's nothing in the stock market that's not more volatile and more risky than what we're doing that's giving you that type of return. So, I'm happy with what we're doing, but I definitely know that using a model is profitable too. And there's nothing wrong with that style either. But this is something where if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be successful, because it does require a lot of screen time. And that's really, the people who are on the screen the most in front of the computer are going to be the ones who catch the most of the big moves. So that's kind of really the basis of our business.
What would you say about that, Harout?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of different styles in the betting industry. Some people, build their own models. They play numbers based on the outputs they get. And then there are traders, guys who are like me and Andrew, who sit on the computer, read the market, play good numbers. And I think that there is no right or wrong answer. There's several ways or several approaches that you can have as a sports bettor to have an edge and make money doing it. I guess it all just comes down to a few things. What's worth your time? What do you enjoy doing it in that specific fashion? And also, where does your skill lie? Like, I can probably sit there and try to build models, but I'm not going to be as good as a lot of the other guys that are respected in the space doing it. Okay. But when it comes to trading, there might be guys who build models who are not just they're not good traders as me or Andrew. So I think I respect any kind of bettor, just like I would respect any other person in a specific profession, whether they're a musician or an artist or an athlete. I think that there are different skill sets involved. So I think just respecting everyone for their own skill sets and knowing that they can make money doing what they're doing, I think that there's no other right answer for that.
Yeah, I think what Rob was trying to say was that basically what you guys have both just said then, is that it's down to you. I mean, it's like whether, right now there's, beginner bettors all over the world, trying to get started. They could, maybe want to do arbitrage betting, value betting, match betting, use a tipster, trading, all these kind of things. They have all these options at hand, and there is, in our opinions, there is some like more advantageous ways to bet. But at the end of the day, if you can't handle losing 5, 10, 15 bets in a row, don't do value betting. You should be doing arbing or match betting and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think overall, it's Yeah, I think exactly what you guys said is that it's down to whatever you guys want to do. But I'd be because I don't know how you guys have been doing this, what, 2-3 years now. Do you ever think like it is a grinding style? Like, do you ever think, Drew, that you'll get tired and just like one day you'll just collapse at the computer and be like, nah, I've had enough?
Nah, I don't think so. It's fun. It's really fun. We have a good time with what we do.
Yeah.
We enjoy it. Will you get tired of it? I mean, it's hard to say. It depends.
Yeah.
If it becomes too easy, but it hasn't become too like it's. I mean, I know that we're really good at what we do, but we're still. It's like, you know, like when you get a video game and you're a kid, you get a video game and then you start getting good, and then you start getting really good, but you still haven't, like, there's still other things for you to accomplish, and you can still get better. So
Yeah.
the excitement and the desire to keep playing is still there. I don't know. Once you get to the point where you're the best in the world, I don't know, you might get tired, but we're not there yet. So we'll keep grinding. I'm enjoying it. I love it. I know
Yeah.
Harout does too. He doesn't even have to answer that. I know.
Yeah, I mean,
guy had,
you
like,
just have to look
something-
at his reaction when we said you can't bet while the podcast is on.
Yeah.
Guys, for you guys wondering why he's saying that, I had to shut off my Dom Best because my voice was lagging and he was getting mad at me. So I shut it off. No betting for me for 1 hour.
Oh, he's probably just itching in his chair now. It's about 1 hour in now. He must be filthy. It's still going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's about to be my turn to jump on. So.
Oh, sorry, I'm delaying things. All right, let's finish up then. Favorite. I want to go favorite, like, together, because I think I've asked Harout this individually. With that bet on, was it an international soccer game of some thing with William Hill from memory? But have you guys each got a like a favorite win or a least favorite loss together? Maybe start with you, Drew.
I think my favorite win was definitely the soccer match, the under 18 soccer match between Italy and Ecuador. We had bet the draw, and it ended up cashing. It just so happened to end up cashing, and that was a good one. That one, we were trying to bet it and we weren't able to get it, but then they moved the line, and we got a nice line on that one.
Yeah. So Harout told the story.
He's told the story on the podcast.
Yeah. So
yeah, that was a good one.
That's the one I was trying to refer to, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, that one pretty much, I'll summarize the story. I tried to bet Ecuador in the app because it had like maybe 15-20 cents of value. So I was like, oh, I'm going to take it. They denied my bet after holding it in the queue, and then they moved Ecuador. And then as they moved Ecuador, they also moved the draw. It was sitting at like 3.45. They meant to move it to 3.65. They accidentally moved it to $37 or $27.
Oh, God. It's just such a terrible turn of events. You feel so sorry for that employee. They must have,
it happens.
They must have shipped a lot of money that day. What about a least favorite loss? Was there one where you were just like, oh God?
Yeah, the fucking Clippers. Fucking hate the Clippers. Oh man, no, we had built a really nice position on Clippers to win the championship, and it had a ton of value leading up to that series. And then they were up 3-1, and we had massive value. We could have gotten out of the position with like a nice profit. But, you know, me and Harout, being the gamblers that we are, we decided to let it ride. And then the Nuggets end up pulling another 3-1 comeback, which ruined that futures play. But, yeah, that was probably my least favorite. It's actually pretty recent. They just lost.
All right. Any least favorite losses, Harout?
I have a ton, man. Every time something pisses me off, I'm messaging Andrew in Telegram. Like, I mean, I say it as I obviously say it as a joke because I understand the reality of the business is that you're not gonna win everything that you want to win, and you're obviously gonna have losses. But I guess like when you're betting so much, it's still fun to elaborate and say, this team pissed me off today, or I'm never betting this team again, just as a joke. But yeah, there's always gonna be losses that piss me off because when you get in really good and you're beating the closing line by like 40, 50, 60 cents, it's like, come on, like, you know, I don't deserve to lose this one. I worked so hard to build such a good position, but I mean, regardless of how good your value is, you're still going to lose at times.
Yeah. All right, fellas, that's all I've got for you today. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest, or before we let Harout get back to betting?
No, man. Thanks for having us. We had a good time. It was fun chatting it up with you.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure having you guys on. And if you guys anyone listening want to follow these guys on Twitter, you can obviously, as we say every week, find Harout at BetLikeHarout, and also you can find Drew at Armenian Better. Yeah, you'll be back next week, Harout. But maybe we should get in Drew every now and then, mate, just to give you a freshen up every now and then, mate.
Yeah, sounds good. Andrew, you're more than welcome to sub in for me.
Yeah, let me know.
All right.
Thanks for having us, Alex.
No, guys, it's a pleasure, and it's the podcast has been gone to a new level the last couple of weeks. So I think this one takes it to another level. So we're at 50 now, and hopefully maybe get you guys back on for 100, eh?
Sounds good. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Next podcast coming out is Anthony Kaminskas. I'm sorry, Anthony, if I've completely botched your name, mate. But Anthony used to work with Paddy Power Betfair Group. So I'm talking to him tomorrow, and that'll go out on Monday. And he's also, like these guys, he's moved into becoming a professional gambler too. So that'll be a fun chat there. So tune in on Monday for that one. But other than that, as always, thanks for listening. Do a quick rate and review of the podcast if you can, and subscribe. And if you're looking to implement basically all the strategies that we talked about today, value betting ones, volume, turnover, all these kind of stuff, Trademate is a great software to get you guys started. So head over to tradematesports.com and start a free week trial. But fellas, once again, tremendous stuff, and I really enjoyed that one, and have to have you on again sometime.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Alex. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.